All right, welcome, everyone. It is Monday, the day before the holiday, and we're here today on Why the Big Secret. So, first of all, I wish you all had a great weekend, but also moving into a great holiday tomorrow to enjoy the festivities, the fireworks, and everything else. And keep a lookout for those UFOs, because I've heard that they are attracted to the fireworks, the big Roman candles, all of that stuff. So you probably want to make sure that you blow up some big stuff, almost make it look like a nuclear weapon type thing, and then they're going to fly down, check you out. So tomorrow is your chance to see a UFO, but you got to do the work. You got to put in the work. You got to go get those fireworks and do all those things. So don't forget to do that as well. Tonight we're going to talk about the grays. Got a few video clips that we're going to show, but we're going to talk about what we hear in ufology, that the grays could possibly be some type of, artificial intelligence. You've heard all the stories from Roswell, New Mexico, where they felt that they had some mechanical bodysuits on. And then you hear that they work for the reptilians. You hear that, there's tall grays, small grays, big grays, little grays. And there's just this gray rumor. So we're going to go into a little bit of that tonight, talk about it a little bit. It's going to be a series of live streams, because we're going to get into the grays, then we're going to get into the tall grays next on our next live stream. Then we're going to get into the reptilians. Then we're going to get into the Nordics. We're going to get into the Palladians. We're going to get into the bird-looking ones, the lions-looking ones. We got a whole series, each one coming up, that we're going to get into each one of these individually so that we can have some conversation. First of all, let's give a shout out to each and every one of you members that are here tonight. And if they are a member, you're going to notice them by the green. And of course, I will bring up all member comments as much as I can when you make a comment. But definitely, if you had an opportunity, you want to make sure that you support us with your membership from there as well. So pretty excited about that, and about ready to rock and roll. Got a couple of announcements. So I'll just put it out here early. And right now, I know you all knew that I was trying my best to get my guy here. Man, it was just pretty hard trying to get Ozulu here to Texas from Ohio. So that was some painful stuff, and trying to work it out, get it worked out. And I was hoping that he would have got here by next couple of weeks, so I can get him here to kind of check some things out. But instead, let me bring you up to date. All right, so he is here. He is right over there, sitting there chilling, and he is here in the command center. So he made it to Dallas, and he's about he's about 6 months old. He was actually 4 months or so when we first sent him to Darrow's, or he had been over there a while growing. And so I got him here, and yes, he's here. And I mean, tell you, anyway, that's one of the things there as well. Real quickly, also, we have been working back and forth with the system that handles this particular product, and they've been doing what we call split tests, different stuff. But anyway, right now, it's going to stay this way for a little while. $47 right now for any of you who need to get that YouTube Unleashing the Power of Storytelling. It's been off and on. We've been working on the system. Some people said he tried to check out, couldn't, even when it was $200. And so now, just an incentive for some of you, if you were one of those, go back to makeyoutubemoney.com. You want to get this if you're doing podcasts, YouTube channels, or trying to put content together. I'm sharing some of the industry secrets that some of these TV producers, when it comes down to putting together your formats and stuff, you want to do this. So go there, get that course before we definitely take it down, just limit it to maybe to 15 or 20 people. So definitely go ahead and get it. And let's see. And outside of that, that's it. Let's get into the conversation right now about these grays. And let me put it up here. And if you are wanting to support the channel, you can. And there we go. So we'll do that. And then any of you that are members or join the membership, I'll give you a shout out toward the end. But anyone that's sponsoring the show, of course, as you know, we'll do that along the way because gratitude has its thing. All right. So the question, first of all, to you, to the audience is, what do you think about gray aliens? Do you think the grays? Oh, and by the way, I'm wearing the t-shirt with is the new tagline for Why the Big Secret. So it's going to be unlock, unveil, and of course unleash. And all of our stuff, we're going to go through that. We're going to always unlock the doors where these secrets are being hidden as we do future shows. Then we're going to unveil the truth as truth seekers, and we'll go through all of that. Who's behind it, who's trying to keep the secret from us, and all of those things. And then ultimately at the end of each show, we're going to unleash the knowledge and the power that we've learned from these secrets and how it can better our community, the truth seekers like yourself. And so that is on the horizon. So you will see this particular brand, and it is now part of our new branding and tagline for Why the Big Secret. And so we're going to, and if you hear the little toy, that's him over there playing, and I should have took it out of this thing. So, hey, so we're going to have to stop that today. But anyway, we will put that together. And so, all right, so let's now get the show on the road. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is get into these grays. So the question for you is, do you think the grays are alien and alive aliens? I want to know if you think that is or who it is, and let's go from there. And let me hear about it in the chat. We're going to do a couple of, interactions tonight. All right, so we got our first sponsor of the show here tonight, and so I want to thank Larissa. So y'all give Larissa, let me put it in here right now, and y'all give her a big shout out here. Let's do that right now. But anyway, so answer the questions if you can. What do you think about the grays? Put it into the chat so I can kind of see. Do you think there are biological, mechanical suits that they're wearing? Are they alive? Are they real? Are they extraterrestrials in origin, and basically from all the stories that you have heard, and let's see what we got from there. Now, Larissa, I don't have your YouTube name if it is, but if in the meantime, we'll just kind of put it there from there. So y'all give a shout out to Larissa as sponsoring the show, starting it out at $15. Thank you. So what do y'all think? I'm looking in here and just kind of see what's going on there. Okay, so we have one of our members saying that real, 100%, they're real. Okay, we're going to go. I got a bunch of video clips that you're going to enjoy tonight that we'll go into that. Someone else is saying gray aliens, also referred to as Zeta Reticulans, Roswell Grays. Now, Zeta Reticulans, I thought those were the reptilians, but okay, or extraterrestrial beings. Okay, so he's saying that they are, and I don't know how to do a poll, Roger. I don't know how to do it through. Matthew says they're alive. And SC Seagrave says, I think they are bioengineered workers. You're going to be surprised. I got a couple of clips that we're going to play that I think could talk about all of that with my partnership. I'm a brand ambassador for GAIA, and so they actually give me some access to some clips for my audience, and so I want to definitely play a couple. So let me just start the first one out, and then we can kind of see where we're going to go with that, with the grays, and just kind of go from there. Let me find the first one. All right, let's go.
Gray aliens, many originating from the constellation of Orion, are perhaps the most commonly encountered extraterrestrial species that we know. Named for the coloration of their skin, they're often confused with extraterrestrial biological entities, or EBENs, who are also gray in appearance. While there are several species of grays, they're most often described as having small synthetic bodies, hairless heads with large black eyes, and an individual consciousness within. These are the small beings also depicted in various historic artifacts around the world. To what degree are the Greys involved in the history of humankind? And to what extent might they be influencing our destiny as we look to the future?
All right, so let's kind of talk about that tonight, where we have the gray aliens, and like she was just saying, courtesy of GAIA, that, you know, there's a lot of people that, you know, says what these grays are here for. You know, of course, there are stories that, especially when you get down to people talking about their experiences, they always say they see these small kid-like grays at the foot of their bed and all of those things. And so definitely I think it's something, you know, from there. So, all right, we have a contribution from Jennifer says, hey, I want to sponsor the show. But Larissa has $15. You know, you sent 10, but we just give Jennifer a shout out anyway for that. But we just keep doing the sponsors, whoever the highest one, get on there. So definitely, I do appreciate your support. So what do you? So the whole point is, what do y'all think? Why is it that these grays are showing up everywhere? Every time you get a report, every time you get somebody saying that they was either abducted or they seen something, it was by these grays. And of course, like I said, if you go back to some of the previous incidents, especially all the way back to 1947 in Roswell, New Mexico, there was little small grays. But then you have some stories of tall grays, which is what we call the ebens. We're going to do a whole podcast or a show on them. I think we either do that Friday coming up this week. And so we're going to go into the tall grays, but this is about the small grays tonight and everything else. And so basically, one of the things that we have to once again think about is, you know, are they the one doing the abductions? Or, you know, when people talk about their abductions, you know, they'll say, okay, I saw some grays, I saw mantis beings. Like the grays are accompanied with all of these different extraterrestrials. And it's almost like, hey, wait a minute, they're everywhere. But people still not saying that they are in charge, right? So the grays are not in charge from there. So, all right, so we got, let me look at a couple of more, some of the people here. All right, she says that C. Gray said the tall brown ones are the oldest grays. I mean, there are so many different colors out there. The movement of the head side to side is like mechanical movement, but they are real, and also they are able to paralyze you and scare the heck out of you. Well, we hear that all the time. And then, of course, girl from the Bay said, this is wild, never thought of this possibility. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that, and I got some people here tonight, some clips that I'm going to show you that gets into that. It's going to really explain some things from there. Maybe people train now to think that what is an alien looks like. Yeah, right. I'm with you on that one. Maybe the small grays are like drones, eyes for more involved tall grays. It's a possibility that you're going to hear some of that tonight and how this pretty much goes from there. So let me kind of put this out here, another clip, and then we'll kind of get into a few things from there. Let's go with this guy right here and pay a close attention to Richard Doty, okay? Let's go with him.
Based on the Defense Intelligence Agency classifications of extraterrestrial groups, which I had access to, information relating to that, there are two groups, or two classifications of grays. The first one are the ebens. The ebens came to us here in 1947 when one of their crafts crashed in Corona, New Mexico, in Horse Mesa. And we recovered one live ET, one eben. He was in captivity in 1952. The second classification of grays are the Haploids. They look similar to the ebens, but they come from a different planet. They look different in respects to size and pop culture or society in general that had access to both the ebens and Haploids confuse them. And they classify them all in one category, but that's wrong.
So right there, we got grays, we got the Haploids, and then you got the Eben. So he's saying, and of course, Richard Doty has been around, been part of the Big Secret Keepers projects. So he is actually saying, hey, I know for a fact we have all of these classifications. So now you're thinking, when you hear people saying, okay, I got grays, what kind? Who actually were the one who abducted them? Who's the one that they're getting these experiences from? If you remember for the members only, but if you remember the video that's in the member wall right now with Marquise, he talks about gray beings floating through that wall that did his abduction or encounter. And so we hear this all the time. We hear people seeing them at the foot of their bed. Then you remember I read a story last week that someone sent in to us that talked about, and actually I still have it right here, that they went with the grays because they were a kid and it was their same size. So they thinking it was a child. But at this point now we're hearing different, that they're not. So let's kind of get back into what someone else is saying here. And as you saw him, he said there's the Haploid, there's the Ebens, and then there is the regular grays. So now, of course, the Ebens are supposed to be really tall. Then we had a bronze grays. If you remember, that was a story out there in Antarctica from Russia and all of that stuff when they did an exploration out there, and they ran into the bronze being Hitler and all of those people. So there is so much that has changed out here that we have all these different species, and which leads us to even talk about the fact that we have all these species of extraterrestrials, right? And there's a book, once again, the Alien Extraterrestrial, whatever, and I forget real quick, but he said there's over 80 species out there. And then you got the Galactic Federation. You have all of these different ones. So it's like weird that all of a sudden you have all of these ETs here, and how we as people are not really comprehending what's going on from there. Yeah, so, yeah, Richard Doty, former Air Force intelligence officer, several close encounters. Yes, he has. So there's a lot of stuff that you want to think about it and look at once you get down to what's going on. So what do y'all think thus far when he just mentioned the Haploids, and now you're talking about the Ebens? So did y'all even know that there was a difference? Let me know. Did y'all know that there was regular grays, and then we got Eben grays, right? Which are the taller ones. Let me know in the chat. Let me see where we at as a collective here, and pretty much from there. So, yeah, so I think it's pretty much, something for us to think about when we're talking about these encounters. Yep, the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, there's just so much out there when it comes down to this from on the other end of the spectrum here. But let's go into a couple of more clips, and then we'll play them again a little later as the show comes back to. But once again, this was one of the things that he was talking about when it gets down to. So let me play this next guy and kind of hear what he's talking about.
When we're looking at grey species, we're dealing with so many different appearances, and yet they've all got the similar quality, which makes them a grey. So
on a second, I'm going to, let me remove these banners real quick temporarily so y'all can know who's talking. All right, there we go. So let's go now.
When we're looking at grey species, we're dealing with so many different appearances, and yet they've all got the similar quality, which makes them a grey. So it seems to be, from my perspective, that they've been hybridized multiple times, and we're seeing a lot of different types of features. So there's a basic small 2 foot, 3 foot tall grey who's pretty much just a robot. Then there's the classic grey, which is the sort of 4 foot tall, big-headed person with sort of relatively long limbs, very ashen grey, which is where they get their name, and the classic rat-browned eyes, which they all have.
All right, so what do y'all think about that? So now he's saying, he just said that, Harry, that the smaller grays are mechanical. They're not real beings, so to speak. What are y'all thoughts on that when you hear that, even though we've heard multiple stories in the past that they could be wearing some kind of mechanical suit? But then at this point, do they have souls, or are they alive, and all of these things? And if so, who is guiding them, right? Who is controlling these little robots, if they're robots, and where are they from, when it comes down for that. And, the human side of it is that if they're going to be 4 foot tall, then I would assume whoever's controlling them, it's probably 6 inches tall, because obviously they don't thought they made themselves a giant, right? And they don't created this giant being. I would not think that someone who is 8 foot tall would say, we're going to make a representation of, or whatever drone or clone or whatever we want to go put out here in the galaxy to do our explorations, we're going to make it 4 foot tall. So I would think that whoever's behind it is even smaller than the 4 foot, because they're thinking that it's bigger. That's just me thinking. But why would someone say, okay, I want to make that real small from there? And so there you go. So Wolfman says that told y'all they were small or grays or robots. Yeah, a lot of them are saying that. We got some more stuff there, and we'll put that back in there as well. So let me go back and look at any other member comments here. And do we need to know, do we know where they are from? No, not really. Nobody really knows where they're from, to be honest with you, from there. Need to check out the movie Paul, He's a Gray, Crashed on Earth. I've heard of that one before as well. And Beginning Journey says that, okay, so the reptilians are extraterrestrials. Yeah, they are. I think they are. And pretty much anything that's not from here will be extraterrestrials in general thoughts, right? Or classification. So they're going to be extraterrestrials, if they're not from here anyway. So let's kind of put that back where it needs to be. But yeah, extraterrestrials. All right. So at this point here, let me put up the, there you go. If you want to support the show, the Cash App is up there. We have Larissa right now is still holding a throne at $15 as our show sponsor. And if you want to become the show sponsor, then you would have to beat Larissa. And you could. All you have to do, if that's what you want. All right. But in the meantime, I have a couple of more clips. I got about 5 or 6 more that I'm going to show, and then we'll come back to some of them as more reference into our conversation, right? So I'm just using the clips to kind of set things up so we can kind of see where we are. So I have another one, and this one is a different clip with Richard Doty where he gets into some detail, but then we also have a clip with a gentleman named Tim. Now, Tim was working for he was a tactical guy for Germany, and he handled a lot of their UFO and extraterrestrial things, and he talks about hundreds of, encounters, and that they actually have some of these grays in captivity that they talk to. So it's amazing to think about it. And then his description of them is totally different than what we hear when we get there. So let's kind of play Tim's video, and then we'll get into, some of those right now. So let me find his, and let's go with the first one, and then we'll get back to a good one here.
In a secret access program located in Germany, where they have direct face-to-face relationship with gray extraterrestrials, Tim, whose role as a tactical advisor, working in a diplomatic capacity, had more than 100 encounters with a small gray species.
I'm not a biologist here by any means, but the way I understand it is that the fiber that is being used on the small gray puppets resists a lot of power forces, and it resists certain atmospherical phenomena that could occur. They also have specific design on the lenses of their eyes, which means they are able to see within that atmosphere wherever they are going, compared to a planet that is mostly clouds of acid or something. To be able to see through these different conditions, you need differently printed eyes and differently structured organs, for example. They have different classes, and they're also constantly evolving and rearranging their genetic profile. We have different colors like green, bronze, a type of violet purple, and the grayish color. those different colors define certain different classes within the society of the grays. So not all grays are gray, and not all gray species are grays, which might be, confusing for some researchers, because they hear stories about grayish beings, which might not even be part of the gray community.
All right, so what do y'all think about that? So now he's sitting here saying that you got all of these different color grays, and how people have grays that they're talking about that may not even be part of the gray community. They may not even be all of those things. It's just one of those deals when it comes down to it. So I think it's a weird story, but like he said, Tim is saying he's had hundreds of encounters, when it comes down to this. So it makes me really kind of throw us into a whole different level when you think about, all right, we're sitting here every day, we want disclosure, we want to see about these UFOs in the skies, what is going on there. But then over here, you got people like him that's saying we have, hundreds and hundreds of encounters, and here's all these different grays, right? So what's the difference there, though, right? So what's the difference between, we got disclosure and whistleblowers, but yet we have all these people over here who are actually out here talking, saying, I've seen them, I've worked with them, I'm part of these government tactical groups. And so it's kind of a confusion to me sometimes, like, okay, we have all of this over here, but then we pushing for disclosure over there. So it's almost like we're in two different paths. What do y'all think about that? And that's something that we can look into when it gets down to that as well. So what's y'all thoughts when we can say from there too? So hang on. All right, so Jack needs to go. Somebody needs to go. What are we got a problem here? Hang on. You got 8 people here. You got the nerve to ask for donate. Oh, I didn't even see this dude. Hang on. You got 80 people here. You got the nerve to ask for donation. What do you need donations for? Nobody's watching. It's your whole persona. You do not look interested in reading cards. All right, so let's do this here. What do y'all think we should say to Jack today? What do y'all think this low-life Jack we should say to this dude who probably ain't got nothing going on? Nothing. He probably wake up in the morning, wish he could do whatever, have nothing. I don't even know where he probably would work. Probably couldn't even do any of the things that we're doing here. What did we should say to Jack today on this given day, and pretty much? And probably can't even donate to the show anyway, and complaining, have no clue of what's happening and all of that stuff. And he wants to say that he got some issue. So what should we say as a collective to Jack, everyone? And how could we do that? You can hate Rod. I know, right? You got your haters, and like I said, if you can hate me and you don't even know me, then I can hate you or love you, because I don't hate you and never met you. But I would say, so tell me the truth. You're going to do better. Tell me the truth. What are you talking about, Jack? What am I donating for? You ain't talking about nothing. What do you talk about? Who are you? What do you do? And I'm going to give you an opportunity before we get you out of here, because I could have done it. It's no big deal, because you nothing, right, at this point. But anyway, so we're going to ignore him and get on out of here. But I gave him an opportunity to say some stuff. But anyway, that's one of those things that you look and say, Jack, be gone, and all of that. And I have no clue to what to say about you and everything else. Hang on a second. Yeah, that's a hater. So Jack is out of there, y'all. Yeah. Somebody talk about from Jack. See, Jack, you had somebody say, there you go. From Jack. Appreciate it, Derek. He said this is from Jack. All right. So, yeah, and let me tell y'all, you get this all the time. And that's for any of you in life, whatever you're doing out there, you're going to get people that go and try to, do exactly what you saw Jack was doing. Want to say what he don't see, don't. Obviously, he is somebody that's doing or think he's doing whatever, and you get it. You get people that'll hate what you do, and pretty much, and for there. So he's like, there's nobody here, so why would you ask them from donation? As though a lot of you are part members, a lot of you give. But anyway, I think that's just kind of one of the craziest things. But anyway, Jack is out. Yeah, he did. He actually helped audience engagement. I didn't even see it. Thank y'all for calling out, because it had scrolled past me, and I didn't even see what was going on. But anyway, so let's get back to what we was talking about earlier. Now that you're talking about these grays, right? You're talking about how, once again, as a UFO investigator, we get all of these encounters where people are saying, you got grays here, you got grays there, or they came by my bed, or these are the ones that were, in my dreams. But then, like I said, you see them all the time when they are, part of the mantis beings, or they're part of the reptilians, or they're like the assistants. You remember like Betty and Barney Hill story? They had grays working on them. Then there was some taller grays in the back that was standing, like monitoring the whole situation. So you get that a lot, to where you hear different ones that will say, this is what we're doing, or this is what the grays were doing when it comes down to that. So I think it's pretty, it can get pretty confusing when it gets down to it from there. And Roger said a government plant. Yep. Jack is blocked, y'all. I got him out of there. That's fine. He's gone, and pretty much. There's Teresa there. And for the record, Teresa never sent me the photo. She never sent me. So y'all tell Teresa hello. Anyway, Teresa, we cool. But you never did. I never got none of that to my email and all of that stuff. So, but anyway, so I got a couple more clips. So let me show another clip, and let's kind of get into that one. Let me hide this real quick so I don't show who we're talking about here. And this is Doty's second clip. Let's go with this.
The Haploids, their head was proportionately larger than their body. Their face was round. The skin tone of the head was slightly darker than the skin tone of the body, and maybe that was for protection. They had larger eyes. The eyes had a couple of different lenses protecting the irises, or maybe the optic nerve, from radiation or from bright light. The mouth had just a small slit, but it could widen. They could widen the mouth. The ear canal was small, exterior, larger interior. Their hearing, they had a huge vessel inside their ear canal. The Haploids had teeth, or something that we would consider teeth, a hard palate, so to speak. The Haploids had different organs, almost similar to ours. They had a heart, or what we would consider a heart, and they had one big organ that straddled the heart, which we would consider a lung. They had two different gullets, or stomachs. I think the description by one particular physician was that the skin was very fibrous. We couldn't identify what that fiber was. We first thought it was a protective layer. The exterior of the Haploids would change, or it would glow, or it would darken somewhat, the fibrous material. And that was, we think, some form of protection. The wrists, I remember, on the Haploids were very, very bony compared to the bone structure on the Eben wrist. And that allowed the Haploids to move their hands in very strange ways. So their anatomy was different than the Eben. So we classified, at that point, the DIA classified this particular group of grays as Haploids.
All right, so there you go. Once again, he's saying, Richard Doty is saying that they have multiple classifications of different grays. And once again, that was the Haploids. Then you got the Ebens, you got the small grays, and then you heard, what's his name, Tim, talks about they come in different colors, and the colors represent ranks, maybe, possibly within the community of grays. And then he said there's other ones out there that look like grays that is not part of the gray community, period. And all of this is happening. And like I said, it gets to a point now that we want to make a decision there saying, hey, let's look at some of those things when it comes down to when people are reporting these abductions. So is anybody in here that actually had an encounter with gray beings yourself? And or any of these that they are describing, do any of those meet your experience of the gray beings that you came in contact with? Now that we see that there are plenty of them, and we just starting out, because now at this point now that they're all reporting all of these grays. And once again, these people are saying that they saw them, they worked on the government programs, but yet on the other side of the fence, we have disclosure. We have all of these things out there with disclosure, and it is popping, with newscast and everything else. Why not? We just can't go and use these people. How come we just can't go and talk to these people who are now giving very great descriptions of their encounters and the programs that they work with, that these beings are here, they've been here, we've been coordinating or communicating with them, some in some particular ways have captured a few grays. And so what do we do when it gets down to that, to where on one side of the fence, what are y'all thoughts on that as well? So someone said, all right, James said, Teresa, James said he thought she would catfish you, Rod. He said, I told you she was going to do it. That's all right. She'll be all right. I'm in an arm sling, fractured my shoulder. I'm not typing away. I'm typing away. Okay. All right. Sorry to hear that. Hopefully everything gets better for you. All right. So, all right. Now, once again, I got a couple of more clips, and then we're now going to go back over and get deeper into some of these encounters, what is happening, and why are we hearing once again about these grays. And these is and once again in the description, this is a courtesy of GAIA. Okay, so they allow me to use these clips, but there is a description or a link in the description if you want to go and watch this. There's a whole thing called the grays, and there's a free trial and all that stuff. If you click the link, and you can go in there and watch a couple of videos and some of the stuff on GAIA. So it's down in the bottom of the video description if that's something that you want to do. All right, so let's kind of get in. Now here, what I'm going to play now is going to really be what we're going to really talk about tonight, okay? So just kind of all this was more of a setup, but let's play this particular clip. And I think this one now is going to kind of turn things around where we're going to be like, what? Let's go.
People sometimes think that the grays are robots, which they are not. They use a artificial fiber material.
Right there, and I just stopped it, but he said that most people think that the grays are robots, but they're not. And he's going to explain in more detail of what he's saying that they are. So now what? He's saying that most of us are going around because we hear that they're mechanical in nature, that at some point they're either robots or whatever, who they are, or whoever's controlling them. But he's saying they're not, but he's not saying that they are live beings, right? But he is going to say something else that I think is pretty interesting. So let's kind of play that. Are y'all ready for me to play it? I'll get right down into it from there. So, yeah, let's put that here. Victor, I'm going to answer that real quick. And I really only will put our member stuff up there, but he's asking about the moon, and it's off topic. It is. There's a lot going on. I probably have gotten, at least in the last month, at least 15, 17 people email me about moon encounters, okay? How things are not lining up, things are a little different, what's going on with the moon. And actually started with one of our guys back, Blake, who about 2 months ago, he was like, Roderick, have you paid attention to what's going on with the moon? He said it's not doing this, it's blah, blah, blah. But I've gotten a lot of people talking about that they are sensing and experiencing different things when it's coming down to this moon. So it may be something in time for us to maybe just look into it as a collective. And so we'll do that from there. So let me play this video and we'll go back into this right now. I know some of y'all saying that the moon is red, and all of that. So let's go.
People sometimes think that the Greys are robots, which they are not. They use a artificial fiber material in order to build their, puppets, which they are. They are using puppets, but they are not robots. It's just that they use a certain genetic profile and fiber print like a million of those artificial bodies. We have a very particular case in which a species got rid of all their natural occurring bodies and replaced it with a vessel that can be fiber printed and might be in the design process something that is from an artificial nature. But we are not dealing with a species that is AI, and I think that needs to be clarified because a lot of people heard about the idea that the Greys is a complete AI species, which they are not. Inside of this artificial body, we still have a consciousness that has a soul, while a robot does not have a natural occurring soul. They might have something that comes close to that on an AI level later in the process, but Greys do. It might be different in a way that they come from a different cultural standpoint, but it's still a natural soul-inhabiting consciousness that is within an artificial body.
All right, so what do y'all think about that? So he's saying that although we think they're mechanical, he's saying that they're not mechanical. And then we're thinking they're artificial intelligence, which he's like, well, not really that. But he says they have a soul. They actually have a soul, which also he's thinking that our AI and computers and all of this stuff eventually is going to evolve into having a soul. What do y'all think about that? Let's look into the chat, because I thought that was something that stuck out a lot for us to be like, wait a minute, here saying they have a soul. And I'm like, what? When it comes down to that. But then once again, they're not alive, but then they're mechanical. And so it takes us all the way over toward the moon, right? And not the moon where we just talking about earlier, but all these theories of hollow moon, and that the moon is some multitask system that's monitoring Earth and keeping Earth in balance. And it just makes us all like we in some kind of huge matrix or something, right? And so now he's saying that the Greys, or this particular Grey, they have a soul, but then they are almost, 3D printed, so to speak. They're these systems. And so that's kind of like, wait a minute. It's almost like Frankenstein. You remember that was his thing. Frankenstein was trying to put together, and the problem was he couldn't get the monster to have a soul, right? So I don't know. So I don't know. So what do y'all think on that? Let's see. Somebody tell my stranger danger. Okay. Yeah, I know. And if Infinity Source says, yeah, wow, soul. Yeah. I don't know. I just think it's kind of, it's pretty much, I like the guy. I watch some of his stuff. And so I don't look at him as off his rocker or nothing, right? Now, I'm not sitting here validating exactly all of his things, but he definitely is pretty deep into this stuff when it comes down to it. But once again, as I played earlier, he doesn't have the experience of seeing 100 and something. So let me go back and pay the backstory. We got a lot of new people in here, but let me go back and play his back video, right? So that you can kind of see his background, or where he comes from and what's going on with him. So let's go back and then come back to why he's saying they have a soul. So let's go.
People sometimes think that the Greys are robots, which they are not. They use a artificial fiber material in order to...
In a secret access program located in Germany, where they have direct face-to-face relationship with Grey extraterrestrials, Tim, whose role as a tactical advisor, working in a diplomatic capacity, had more than 100 encounters with a small Grey species.
I'm not a biologist here by any means, but the way I understand it is that the fiber that is being used on the small gray puppets resists a lot of power forces, and it resists certain atmospherical phenomena that could occur. They also have specific design on the lenses of their eyes, which means they are able to see within that atmosphere wherever they are going, compared to a planet that is mostly clouds of acid or something. To be able to see through these different conditions, you need differently printed eyes and differently structured organs, for example. They have different classes, and they're also constantly evolving and rearranging their genetic profile. We have different colors like green, bronze, a type of violet purple, and the grayish color. Those different colors define certain different classes within the society of the grays. So not all grays are gray, and not all gray species are grays, which might be, confusing for some researchers, because they hear stories about grayish beings, which might not even be part of the gray community.
Yeah, all right. So I just played that again to see his background, to kind of give him the credibility of why we should either take not for granted of what he says, but at least listen. This guy said he's done had hundreds of encounters and have sat down with grays in the meetings and everything else. So I think that's pretty interesting when it comes down to it. But like I said, when he now pops out that these things are mechanical in some nature, but they're not mechanical, but they are some type of fiber suits. So basically they don't have blood running through their veins, right? They're like we have. They're not having blood and things running through their veins. And so are they truly alive? And if you have a soul, are you alive? Or do you have to have a soul to be alive? That's the question too. So what do y'all think when it comes down to that, and he says, once again, they got a soul, but not really that they're alive. So I just think it's a lot of confusion in that. But at the same time, it's like, man, that's some weird stuff. So once again, y'all give a shout out to Larissa being the Tonight Show. If you want to sponsor the show and support the show tonight and make some fireworks happen in the camp of Why the Big Secret, there's a Cash App at the top, and you can welcome or become a member. And pretty much. And so, and one of the things that we are going, just to let y'all know, we are going to have a couple of live streams. I think in the middle of the week, I have some people and some things we're going to talk about. It's going to go into the membership area first, and it's going to be a live stream that the members are only going to be able to access. However, if you're not a member, within a week or so after that, you'll be able to see the live stream. You probably won't be in there at the current time, but just let you know, the members are going to have their privileges there. I'm trying to give the members more benefits and things as well for supporting the channel. And so we're going to have a members-only live stream, and so the members will be only ones that can access it. But like I said, if you're not a member now, don't fret about it, because I think in about 7 or 10 days, it'll set to go live. It's just that it won't be in real time, okay? So just let you know, I just want to give our members a couple of things there. A few people saying, sounds like a good genetic explorer. Okay, all right. Nick Rogers says, wash hands, wash hands, wash hands. All right. Beginning journey say, okay, there are beings that look like grays. Okay, so he said that. He said that they have all these beings that look like grays, and then at this time, they're not. And so I'll go back to a couple of previous clips, because all of this just make you kind of wonder, like, once again, and am I asking that question by myself? Why are we sitting here today worrying about disclosure, and we're worrying about somebody saying the military has down aircraft? It's almost like two different avenues are going. So on this side of the fence, you have people, ex-military, saying that they work on or work with or know about these grays, and that they have seen them, they have interrogated them, but yet on this side of the fence in real time, we don't even hear about those stories. You're not even going to hear them bringing those people into the Whistleblowers Acts or at some of these conferences. And I don't understand that myself, and maybe that's something we all can think about as a collective of why on one end of the fence. And like I said, we don't want to worry about how things are happening and what is happening. We need to always focus on why it is happening and what's going on there. So I'll go back, like I said, and I'll play another one of the clips again, and so that we can kind of get into that and just kind of see the setup. So let's go back to the first clip with Richard Doty again, right? And he's explaining that they crashed here, and we got these grays, and we have them. So I thought that's pretty weird. But
based on the Defense Intelligence Agency classifications of extraterrestrial groups, which I had access to, information relating to that, there are two.
He's former military, right? He said he had access to it, but he's not at the whistleblowers' places. He's not there, but he's on TV saying, I had access to military operations that we had grays and we interrogate them. They crashed, we got them. And so, but the press is making a big deal on whistleblowers who are saying, okay, maybe we got some technology or all of those things, but yet in real time, these people are saying who they are and what's going on. So let's go.
Based on the Defense Intelligence Agency classifications of extraterrestrial groups, which I had access to, information relating to that, there are two groups, or two classifications of grays. The first one are the Ebens. The Ebens came to us here in 1947 when one of their crafts crashed in Corona, New Mexico, in Horse Mesa. We recovered one live ET, one Eben. He was in captivity in 1952. The second classification of grays are the Haploids. They look similar to the Ebens, but they come from a different planet. They look different in respects to size and pop culture or society in general that had access to both the Ebens and Haploids confuse them. And they classify them all in one category, but that's wrong.
So I don't know. I know the question was, is he a disinformation agent? I don't know. Like I said, I don't know where it comes down to the legitimacy of the guy, right? Except for he's been out there and he's proven that he's worked with our military. So those are things that we will think about and be like, okay, there's some truth in what he's saying. Once again, though, he worked with the military. He's putting out there that we had a crash. We've had an Eben, which is not a regular gray. So apparently the Ebens, like you've heard already tonight, are a whole different species of gray. But he's saying we captured them, but not in 1947 when it crashed. We're talking 5 years later that we've had this thing in captivity and talking to it, right? And so it's like, wait a minute, what's going on from there? Those clips are from Deep Space on GAIA. So if you all want to see the actual clips or the actual presentation, it's called The Grays. It's wonderful. It's very informative. And like I said, if you need a free trial, or I think I have some links in the description where you can click that and maybe you can watch that as well. So it's in the description of the video. You click it and it'll take you into GAIA. If not, you can get your membership as well. And if you do get a membership, it will support the channel. They do. I'm a brand ambassador for GAIA. And so now we're going to be able to show a lot of their stuff here. And man, it was a lot of work trying to get that approved for our channel, for our Truth Seekers community. And now we can go deep, deep, deep into a lot of things. So if you all got memberships there and you might say, hey, Rob, we need to talk about something you watched, you let me know. We can put it into our content strategy, and then I can pull those things from GAIA, and now that I'm in partnership with them. And so that is a beautiful thing. And so let's go in there. But once again, I'm not the only one. I think Polo, we always talking about it, was that why is it that you have these people here like himself, Tim, all of these people that work with these governments and now saying that they work with all these programs, they're willing to go on TV shows and say, we have these grays, we got this. But now at the media side of disclosure, we're sitting here every day trying to figure out why are these people going to this Whistleblowers Act or going to these conferences and telling their stories. And so again, it's like we have a whole shadow thing going on, right? On one side, there's almost a reality for what's happening with people and what's going on with us. But then on the other side, we have like this shadowy thing that's happening. And I thought that was pretty interesting when it comes down to it. So let's go deeper into a few things and let's hear what this lady, I had an opportunity when I did my first show on Clubhouse, if y'all remember, it was called Ufology. I did but it turned to be 6 hours. And this is where I had a lot of guests on that particular audio show. And so if you haven't heard it, I don't think I loaded up on my channel. I should, but this was my very first pilot show for Clubhouse when I went to a full season with them doing UFO shows. But she was one of the guests here. So
since the early 1970s, investigative science reporter Linda Moulton Howe has been at the forefront of examining these cases.
The role that the Greys have played for the whole century going from 1947 at least up into the 21st century, you will find documents and you will find people in the abduction syndrome who will talk about the Greys as one kind, even though they are referring to maybe a 2-foot or 3-foot that woke them up in bed and it was involved with an abduction. Or people out in a ranch in Colorado who were cowboys and saw 2 small gray beings literally defy gravity and rise in the air and go over the fence of a corral. So going all the way back to the early 40s and coming up through the decades, as there were animal mutilations, the small grays were linked. As there were human abductions, that most people were describing at their bed or at the side, small grays. In the 1940s, 50s, 60s, nobody knew that why were all of these things showing up around beds. Well, today it would be like we sent out some artificial intelligence to do some kind of experimental work. So you have an issue of humans reporting what they see and then trying to extrapolate back. They're sort of all gray. They sort of have black lens eyes. But what is the relationship between them and what is the relationship between the Greys and the Ebens and other biological entities that we know have played a crucial role on planet Earth, and those are called the tall whites or tall pales.
all right, so now you can see the plot thickens, right? So she's talking about how there's multiple grays, how all of this entwines together or come together at the end of the day. And then now we move into the tall whites, we move in all of those things. And so once again, it's like there is a faction of ufologists that specifically says, hey, I've contacted them, I've seen them, I've worked with the programs, I've done this, but yet we don't get those people in the real world when it comes down to disclosure or everything else. Yeah, I interviewed her. I interviewed Linda when I first did my audio show on Clubhouse. Yeah, I interviewed her, and that show was pretty packed. I had Linda, Moulton, Howe, and then I had Whitley Strieber. I had, of course, Billy Carson that night. I had, let's see, Barbara Lamb that night. I had Kathleen Martin that night. And then there was, of course, Alan, if y'all know him, Alan Steinfeld. And then I had a few others. I had a lot of those people on my pilot show that night. And it was supposed to last 2 hours. It went 6 hours. So That was pretty cool. And pretty much. All right. So, all right, here says, hey, do you believe whistleblowers should come forward? I mean, they're already coming forward right now, Yolanda. So it's happening. And so, yes, they should come forward. But I think what we see with the congressional whistleblowers protection, that's not for the everyday common person, right? That's not for somebody who's sitting at home saying, I want to go and pretty much, tell you everything. This is for people who works in corporate America, works for military, protection for people who will get some form of retaliation if they were to, share some of these company secrets. Some of these people have signed non-disclosures, NDAs, and so they can't really get out there. But the Congress is saying, you can tell us you're not going to violate your NDA, but you can't go out there in the public. And so it's like a battle behind the scenes on more of a political approach to all of this. But at the end of the day, we are making progress, though, right? We are getting further along. So therefore, and let me back up for a minute. The Whistleblowers Act, I'm sure, will protect an everyday person, but it was designed to weed out, or not weed out, to encourage people that works for these private contractors and all that stuff in black op projects that the government don't even know about, because they probably had their own crash retrievals. And so those people is pretty much, David Icke would be somebody I would love to interview. Oh my God. Those are things I would put on my list to do. Linda, like you said, I could bring her back at some point. And I heard they would take you out if you say much. Is crazy. Factory Polo. C. Gray says the documentary named Mirage talks about Doty when he was performing disinformation. Now, like I said, I have not got any back history on Richard Doty from there. So if y'all got a little more history about him, let's put it in the chat, so some links or something we can kind of go check out, because I would definitely love to. Like I said, I'm just playing the clips that he was talking from GAIA, which now we can, play a bunch of their stuff here and really put some content on the channel and discuss some of these shows among ourselves. And so I think it's just one of those things there. All right. So let's go back to some things that we played earlier, but in the meantime, it is halfway through, so I need to promote the Conscious Award tickets. Now, the voting is over, and hopefully we will be victorious, but let's still promote it. So if you're going to go, you definitely want to go. So this is going to be 2 minutes. If you need to take a break, we're just going to show you the Conscious Award information.
Hey everybody, it's Billy Carson, also known as Forbidden Knowledge. I want to talk to you about a very special event coming up July 30th, 2023. The Forbidden Conscious Awards, the first annual event of its type. We're going to honor people who have been contributing to the conscious community for decades. People that you know and love that have helped you get to higher levels of thought and consciousness and awareness. And guess what? It's time to give them their flowers while they're still alive. It's going to be a live in-person event, but seats are going to sell out very fast. You want to make sure you're there in person for this amazing level event. It's going to be above the Oscars, above the Grammys. And guess what? You can help vote for the winners. Voting is available on forbiddenknowledge.com. And the categories are going to be social media influencer, podcast/radio host, TV host, actor, director, producer, entrepreneurs, health and wellness, philanthropists, authors, field researchers, archaeologists, space anomaly hunters, and of course, a Lifetime Achievement Award. And you want to be there in person because I'm going to be speaking. That's right, I'll be your keynote speaker that night at the Forbidden Conscious Awards. If you want to come to a mini conference, this is the place to be, because I'm going to give you the knowledge that night, as well as performances. We have celebrity guests performing. We'll have a halftime show where we're actually going to perform music for you. And don't forget about the pre-event mixer, where if you buy a box seat, you'll be in the VIP section, and you also have private access to a VIP mixer with celebrity guests. Shake hands, break bread, network, and then walk the red carpet with us and take amazing photos. It's going to be a night to remember. You don't want to forget this. And you help vote by going to forbiddenknowledge.com, go to the Conscious Awards link. You can text in a vote for who you want for any category, as well as if you're out of the country, you can use the web form ballot to still vote for anyone you think is worthy of being honored that night. Make sure you hurry up and get your tickets, because they're selling out very fast. I want to see you there. Forbidden Conscious Awards 2023.
All right, so I hope that the voting is over, but I want to thank each and everybody every week in and week out that you heard me pressing vote, 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 vote. And those that did vote for me, I'll be down there next, for the event, and I'm one of the runners up. So we will love to bring home the award. And I tell you, if I do, and I will, right, we're going to claim it, that I will thank all of our Truth Seekers community of Why the Big Secret and beyond, right? And all of that, and it will be just an honor to do so. And I just can't wait to just really have that opportunity. And once again, if you want to check out some of my other stuff right now, you can go to Alien Endgame on the Discovery Channel. You can go to Beyond Belief with George Norrie, Open Minds with Regina Meredith, Forbidden Knowledge. You can go to the Blacklight Satellite documentary, or you can go to their channel as an 8 episode there. GAIA, like I said, you got Roswell, also Amazon Prime. I'm in a couple of shows there. And then, of course, featured on Ancient Aliens and all that. So it's just been an incredible ride, right? Incredible ride. And this is why, like I say, you get people that, sit out here, and we are bringing it home. So we're going to do it together. So real quickly, let me look over into the chat as we continue to go down this road. But again, Factory Polo says, Roderick is the real deal. Appreciate it. And Kim says, Roderick, I vote for you. Thank you for voting for me as well. Yes, Mr. Carson is the real deal. Yeah, it takes a lot to put on these kind of things, and for somebody to have the initiative to go out here and say, I'm going to give people their flowers, flowers while they're here, and all of that stuff. So I think it's really important to support it. And if you have not done that, that's fine. And like I said, we got a couple of tickets we were going to give away. I'm trying to figure out how we can do it in the best way for all of us. And so those are things that I would love to, put together and see how we can do that. So we'll figure it out. We'll definitely figure it out, and let's go down that road. All right, so let's go back to, and like I said, we got a couple of video clips. If you knew and just joining us, we're talking about the Greys. Are they possibly artificial intelligence? Are they real? And of course, we got people saying now, and not people, but Tim saying, hey, they possibly got souls. I thought that was pretty powerful when they get down to it. So we'll play some of the clips again, how we got here, so people can understand. And I'll start it with one of the first ones that I started with earlier to kind of give you some idea and backstory. And these are compliments of GAIA. And if you want to go and watch that full production, there is a free trial link and stuff in the description of this video. So you're welcome to go check it.
Gray aliens, many originating from the constellation of Orion, are perhaps the most commonly encountered extraterrestrial species that we know. Named for the coloration of their skin, they're often confused with extraterrestrial biological entities, or EBINs, who are also gray in appearance. While there are several species of grays, they're most often described as having small synthetic bodies, hairless heads with large black eyes, and an individual consciousness within. These are the small beings also depicted in various historic artifacts around the world. To what degree are the Greys involved in the history of humankind? And to what extent might they be influencing our destiny as we look to the future?
All right, so as you saw there, the EBINs are extraterrestrial biological entities. So they're now saying that, especially, versus what she's talking about, but you got Greys, and now they're saying some are biological, and then there are some that are mechanical. But yet, Tim says the ones that are mechanical are not AI, but they do have some type of consciousness, but they also possess a soul, but they're also manufactured, right? That they are almost 3D printed when it comes down to these things. And so the question for, I think most of us is going to be, who's making them? Where are they coming from? And then in that same series, they start talking about how the Greys are kind of like a rental thing, where a lot of these different entities, who somebody created the Greys, and now it's a product almost, to where all these entities are saying, hey, we want to rent a gray to, or some technology of that, to go to Earth, and then at that same time get some of the earthly human experiences. And so there was a lot of detailed stuff in that particular documentary that they did, but it also goes into a lot of things when it comes down to, you know, why are they here? Why are they? What do they want to do with humans? Or were there a particular race that their planet or wherever they come from was dying, and so therefore they needed to mix with humans? And supposedly our DNA is supposed to be the original God DNA that has existed, so that a lot of these people are coming here to say, okay, we need to create hybrids and let's use this human domain to better our planet and where we are. So it's like really out there when it comes down to a lot of these things, pretty much. You need to bring Angeli. You said Angeli or Angeli onto the show? Is that, let me make sure if we're talking about the same person. Yeah, you know, she's been here before, you know, in the past. I haven't talked to her in a while, so I need to reach out pretty much. But yeah, so it's like, yeah, so, you know, people still say that this is Project Earth, right? This is Project Earth that we're on, and so it's supposed to be totally different than everything else. This is Project Earth. And so that makes it kind of weird when it comes down to thinking that, you know, everybody is here to tamper with the creation, the ultimate creation, which is humans. But yet our lifespan is what, 60, 70, 80, 100 years, when some of these things are living thousands of years, okay? And so that's a whole thing to think about as well. So yeah, if you guys want to rewatch some of that on Gaia, there's a link below in the description. Click it. You can get a free trial. You can watch a couple of free videos now, and that could be one that you might want to watch. So go in there and sign up for some free videos and all those things. And so, yeah, I mean, he said they have a soul. The Greys have a soul. So I thought that was interesting when it comes down to that and what to think about that, period, that these Greys have a soul. I'm like, what? So, like I said, if you go back to Harry's story, which is pretty interesting, and so I'll play that again. We played it earlier today, but let's go back to Harry Challenger, his story, and what he's talking about when it comes down to these Greys. Let's go.
When we're looking at grey species, we're dealing with so many different appearances, and yet they've all got the similar quality, which makes them a grey. So it seems to be, from my perspective, that they've been hybridized multiple times, and we're seeing a lot of different types of features.
So you hear what he said, they've been hybridized multiple times, meaning somebody's tampered with them and trying to improve them at some point over and over and over. So it's no different than they're saying that our DNA has been tampered with like 64 different times. And so there's a lot of changes and stuff to ultimately now we think they figured it out and they're not trying to create another type of human being today. But now that we know this, but it's supposed to be we are the perfect specimen of it all, you know, and not because of, you know, our diets and all that, but just the human part of this, you know, alone. And so that makes it all interesting enough. So I'll go back and play the clip within its entirety.
When we're looking at grey species, we're dealing with so many different appearances, and yet they've all got the similar quality, which makes them a grey. So it seems to be, from my perspective, that they've been hybridized multiple times, and we're seeing a lot of different types of features. So there's a basic small 2 foot, 3 foot tall grey who's pretty much just a robot. Then there's the classic grey, which is the sort of 4 foot tall, big-headed person with sort of relatively long limbs, very ashen grey, which is where they get their name, and the classic rat-browned eyes, which they all have.
Yeah, so what do y'all think about that, though? Now that you're seeing and hearing there's all of these Greys, and like I said, we're going to do our next show is going to be about the the extraterrestrial biological entities. And so we're going to go into that next. But I'm just saying, what do you think personally? So let's see if we can get some engagements when it come down to now all of a sudden we got all of these different types of grays, if though the grays are some type of blueprint, right? They even made a comment that they produce their own food. Supposedly they have these different pouches on their bodies, but their bodies actually produces some type of food source that goes into a bag on their bodies. They reach in there and then they eat it. So it's like a recycled type of situation, right? And so their bodies is producing the food that they need to live, but yet it's all recycled at some point. So I thought that was pretty interesting too, when you look at some of the dynamics or the way that they're saying some of these grays are put together. But then, we want to say, okay, wait a minute, they're not real, they're mechanical. But even in mechanical in nature, in most of the videos we saw, I think somebody else mentioned it earlier, you see them just twisting their head or they're not seeing much. And so I don't know how much technology is into that you got a robot that's not really doing anything. But now, as you heard earlier, what Linda said, that there are farmers and people that are reporting seeing grays, levitate and go over fences without even jumping them, just kind of going over and back down. And so it's almost like they're gliding and not really touching the ground. And that's what Marquis said in his video that got banned, or we had to take it off the public view of YouTube and put it in our members area from Forbidden Knowledge TV. And he said that they floated in his room. The extraterrestrials came in and they floated in. So I thought that was pretty interesting to see that they're talking about this, but yet there are some type of robotic thing. But then, of course, he's saying, no, they have a soul. And so I think all of this just kind of mystifies everything to be like, wait a minute, what's really happening? How does these grays have a soul and everything else? Thursdays is going to be Project Black Days, okay? We're going to do Project Black Days on Thursday. There's going to be a conference call number that I'm going to be giving out before the shows around 7 o'clock, 7:30 on Thursday. We're going to do Project Black conference calls where we can actually have more of a conversation with everybody. And then we're going to actually initiate the new entry where people can kind of send their stories, all of this stuff. So we're going to go full steam ahead when it comes down to Project Black. And if you're here for the first time and don't know what Project Black is, you can go over to our website, whythebigsecret.com, and check out Project Black. And here's the logo itself. And Project Black is the Black League of Alien Contact Knowledge. And the tagline is Start the Conversation. There is a story behind the Egyptian side of things, why he's got a third eye, why he's wearing the Egyptian colors and the outfits of that, the mofet or whatever you want to call it. So there is a story behind it, and it is a story that you might want to learn. And so as you stick around Project Black, you're going to learn a lot of that. But again, once again, it's for everybody. So it doesn't matter what color or skin or who you are. We're looking to dip into an area, once again, in communities of indigenous and African-American communities, especially when it comes down to how we're disproportionately represented in this area, as well as some of the stories and everything, and that's not coming out of this area. So that initiative is cool and great. It's part of Why the Big Secret. And also, if you are in the members area there, and let me put it in here, Project Black has a top membership area, and we only need 20 or 30 people to do that one. And those are the people that's going to be our collaborators behind the scenes and a lot of stuff that we're going to have. And not that everybody's not welcome, but those collaborators are going to be some people that are going to be pushing the envelope. And if you want to be one of our collaborators and really support what we're doing, you can do that, and something for you to consider. But there is a link in the description. You can join our membership at any level, but if you want to be a Project Black contributor, it's a bigger level there. But it's worth it, and there's a reason behind that, right? We got a lot of stuff we have to do. All right, so let's go back into the comments, and before we get out of here in a little bit, because it is a holiday, and I know that each and every one of you probably doing some stuff with your family tomorrow and all of that stuff. So we'll continue to talk it out tonight. Looking for anyone else who want to sponsor the show, any more contributions to our show tonight, you can use the Cash App, which is not up there. It's up there now, though. And you can definitely support the show. And any all that is going to be definitely beneficial to you, pretty much. Beneficial to us, to our whole community and what we do. Let's look back to Elizabeth says the grays mix with cows. Well, Linda Moulton Howe talks about cattle mutilation. She talks about, and how she was putting all that together in one basket. Could all of this have a point? And it makes you wonder, though, because you got cattle mutilations, you got all of these different things that are out there, but you really got to decide what is really happening when it comes down to this gray alien thing. In fact, there was a show called Two-Faced or Gray or whatever. I don't know if you ever seen that. It is an outstanding show. And they only have one little clip of a gray alien that went out the closet, and they turned it into documentaries. That 1 second clip turned into documentaries. It turned into stories. The thing is huge. Two-Faced or Gray. I mean, it's one of those things that I was like, wow, I would love to have done something like that. So we can definitely do that. Kia says, like how they recycle astronaut urine and sweat. Yeah, I'm sure that's, I don't know. I mean, we've heard stories about that, but yeah, I'm sure, at some point you could recycle all of those things and it's probably what those grays are doing. Like you said, how are they feeding themselves? I don't know, but they described them having some kind of other pocket or mechanism on their body that produces some green looking food, and they take it and then they eat it, and it's their food, but yet they produce the food. I don't know if it's from recycling the waste. And then they did describe that some of these grays actually have teeth and some of them don't. And so it's almost like they all have these different models and everything else. So what we're going to do before we get out of here, I'll go over some of more of the videos again to kind of set some stuff in tow here so we can kind of pull things along. So let's go back to, let me find out the clip that I want to focus on. Let's focus on Tim clip again about consciousness and a soul. Because I think that one's the one that caught me the most and it probably got everybody else like, what? Yeah, let's play that one again and let's kind of go into it.
People sometimes think that the Greys are robots, which they are not. They use a artificial fiber material in order to build their, puppets, which they are. They are using puppets, but they are not robots. It's just that they use a certain genetic profile and fiber print like a million of those artificial bodies. We have a very particular case in which a species got rid of all their natural occurring bodies and replaced it with a vessel that can be fiber printed and might be in the design process something that is from an artificial nature. But we are not dealing with a species that is AI, and I think that needs to be clarified because a lot of people heard about the idea that the Greys is a complete AI species, which they are not. Inside of this artificial body, we still have a consciousness that has a soul, while a robot does not have a natural occurring soul. They might have something that comes close to that on an AI level later in the process, but Greys do. It might be different in a way that they come from a different cultural standpoint, but it's still a natural soul inhabiting consciousness that is within an artificial body.
Yeah. All right. So y'all heard it again. They have a soul. So I'm like, wow. But yet they're fiber, mechanical in nature. And could the Greys be some future technology of AI, even though he said it's not, but that doesn't mean that it didn't evolve. And now it's back. So it's almost like, what can we do with that? Is the Greys maybe the future technology or a future or where we want to be and go, and at the same time as having these surrogates or whatever. And so, like I said, in that same series of that show, they talked about how the gray model is something that a lot of species probably rent. And so it could be some species of whatever looks and styles, whoever, but they can rent. And now all of a sudden they rent the gray suit and use it, or say, we're going to go visit Earth. Let's get into the grays. I don't know. So it's pretty much from there. And I thought that's crazy, but it does. All right. So is everybody going to be doing fireworks tomorrow, or y'all doing it tonight? What's going on? I mean, it is 10 o'clock here in Texas time, and we're talking about fireworks and everything else. So are y'all going to be doing fireworks? Anybody in particular, or you're not going to be doing fireworks? But anyway, like I said, we're not going to hold you up too late tonight, because tomorrow's a holiday, some barbecue, and I'm sure everybody's going to be doing some stuff there, and pretty much. All right, so let's look back and see what we got here. Nope, nobody's doing anything. All right, beginning journey, said the question, blue pill. And anyone else? All right, so let's give a kudos real quick, and we'll go back. We have a new member, and let's give a shout out and clap to Calypso. Let's do that. And so we have a new member because we're toward the end of the show. If you're still here, I just want to thank you for being a member. And if any of you not a member, definitely I'm going to encourage you to become a member, because we're going to make a lot of changes. It's going to be more toward the members. And again, when our Curious Mind membership is $2.99, and so $2.99 a month, that's 9 cents or 75 cents a week that you can support the show if you like. And then we have higher memberships from there. So I would encourage you to get a membership to the channel and everything else, because at some point, we're going to have our members only chats, members only live streams, and then there will be, where other people can see the stuff a little later after that. But we'll definitely do that right now, and we have to do, because there are some things that we can't really talk about with the ad revenue that's going to be associated to it. So if you can do it, that'll be great from there. Any other questions y'all have about these grays? The next show Friday is going to be about the Ebens. So we're going to be talking about these biological entities. And if you want to get a little heads up on that information, you can go. There's a link in the video for a free trial to GAIA if you don't have one, and you can watch that video free. And so go check it out. We're going to be talking about it Friday. And so, Friday. So, and Thursday will be for Project Black. But yeah, we'll talk about it Friday. So if there's something that you want to questions or get ahead of that, go check it out. Even watch the grades so you get a little more perspective of what we talked about tonight, but then go and watch the even one so that you know where we're going next. So I think it's going to be really cool to see the distinction between these small grays, short grays, brown grays, yellow grays. I mean, not a yellow one, but all these different color grays that they're calling, and now it's like it's something. So I'm just, for me personally, I think I just want to see the point of, do we have, all of these different species out there of extraterrestrial beings, right? Or they're from all these other countries and stuff like that. But yet the movies, I was watching The Arrival last night. It was really good. The Arrivals last night was there, but these beings was so tall, and it was big and had octopuses looking like arms, and it's like, okay. All right, we have a new member. Let's give a shout out as we come to a close here. All right, Herb, thank you for becoming a member. I just love to see that happening and you guys getting a membership. But once we get to 100 or so plus members, then there will be some member-only chats, and that'll control what we have with old crazy Jack. That's a rhyme. Jack, whatever. We will definitely be doing that as well. And like I said, we're going to have our members-only live streams and stuff. I got to do this to encourage the support so that we can have other people here, guests here, that we don't have to worry about the ad revenue. We can now say some things. But behind that members live chat, we can cut, man. We can say whatever we want to say. We can say the bad stuff, whatever, because it ain't live on YouTube and they don't care. So we're going to have some content behind that wall, and we're going to get after it. As soon as I get enough people that when we do that, we got enough engagement back there, we're going to go. We're going to run to the races, baby, to do that. So let me see if there's any other video clips that I want to show again to kind of go into before we get out of here in a little bit. But I still got the clip of my dog. He's here. So I'll show you all. There you go. Yeah, so he is 6 months old. I didn't want a small puppy because I just didn't want to go through all the little puppy stage. So he's, about 40-something pounds, but he's going to get like major wide. Head is going to be like this big. So in about 6 months, he's going to be like, whew. And he's a beautiful dog and got a personality that's just out of this world. And he grew since, when I first was bringing him a month or so ago, he was at Daryl's and finally just reached out, called someone who was driving an 18-wheeler, and he was like, hey, man, I'm in such and such, an old friend of mine, and he had to go to different states, but picked him up. Daryl and them drove to another 3 hours, met him, put him in there, and, man, got around, and he got here yesterday at about 3 o'clock. And so that was pretty cool. Met him for the first time, and we're bonding right now, and so we do have a mascot. I was going to call him a Disclosure, right? Like give him a mascot name of Disclosure and all that. But Zulu is going to be his name, so that's his name, and that's what we will call him from there. Thank y'all. Yeah, he's a beautiful boy. He is beautiful, and so he'll be really doing. Okay, so is there anything else we want to cover before we get out? Just want to know, and I want to thank anybody else. Anybody want to support the show before I leave? Like here, Roderick, support the show. We can do that. It's up there at the top if you want to do that as well. Any UFO questions, any questions that you have, if we want to get off topic real quick, the moon or whatever, any question y'all have, this will be the time. And if you are here and yeah, I know Kia got a beautiful one. Hers is blue tricolor, I think. Yeah, so she has a pretty bully as well. So is there anything we could do before we get out and there? So, yeah. So, all right. So let me get ready to send us to the house in just a little bit here. All right. So once again, it is the day before 4th of July, which is our Independence Day. All right. So I'm telling you, you should definitely pop those big firecrackers, because I'm telling you, every year we get a lot of reports from UFOs on Moulton when people are out popping fireworks because they see a lot of stuff. I'm not saying that you wouldn't see it, but yeah, somehow those big fireworks shows do get the attention of these UFOs, and they like to come and spy, especially those ones that are pretty big up there. So definitely, if you're going to get those bottle rockets, not the bottle rockets, I'm talking the ones, Roman candles ones that go boom, make some noise, and definitely do that. Jay, I don't know how he knows that they have a soul. That I don't know. And everybody, like C. Gray say, don't eat too much tomorrow, but just get your food in and enjoy all of those things. And I'm not doing anything. I'll just be here in Dallas, but chilling, and working at the office or something. And then there's I'm going to probably sit out and see some fireworks, later on that night there, and pretty much from there. All right. Thank you for the contribution. Someone just sent a contribution to us as well, so I want to appreciate that. So anything else? If not, y'all know we got the jam that'll take us out, and this is the one we're going to go out with.
To everyone tuning in, let me ask you, why the big secret concealing it from the mass view? UFOs circled in the sky, still get no reply. I think it's time for truth seekers to rise.
Hands up
if you're feeling how I'm feeling. Spread the truth and start revealing. Knocking down the doors of the big secret keepers. Truth seekers coming through your speakers. What?
Make sure y'all like and share the video. Post your comments, positive comments, of course. And share these videos and like it. Hit that, smash that like button so this algorithm will do what it needs to do. Good night. Love each and every one of you. And to my haters, if you can hate me and not ever knowing me, then I can love you without ever meeting you. But I don't want to meet you, but I'm still going to give you love. Love to each and every one of you. Good night.
Why did Ruby shoot Oswald? Was there a conspiracy?
In a world shrouded in darkness and obscured by deception from the big secret keepers, a burning question ignites in the hearts and minds of truth seekers. Why? Let's dive into the abyss of the unknown. Challenge the limits of our understanding.
This bizarre sequence of double killings raised great questions. Who actually fired the shots that killed Kennedy?
Pierce the veil of secrecy.
Cattle found dead and the manner of their deaths are a real mystery.
Anyone who is concerned about lead in the drinking water in Flint